This pretty good coverage is brought to you by Power Grip, the official retail partner of the European Pro Tour.
Hello and welcome back to coverage of the 2023 Estonian Open, third stop of the European Pro Tour. This is round 2 front 9 FPO lead card coverage brought to you by MDG Media. We are here at Kõrvemaa Disc Golf Park in Estonia. I'm Connor Wood, and with me, Johan Walstam.
Great to be back here. Thank you everyone for joining us. We're starting out our card here with Kaidi Allsalu for a rating of 934 and a 50% scramble rate, and a pretty solid C1 putting there at 85%.
And winner of the Copenhagen Open just earlier this year. Joining her, we see here Teele Toomsalu, 872 rated. New player for me. Excited to see her game and learn a little bit about how she plays.
A frequent player on our card, we got Anneli Tõugjas-Männiste, 917 rated. She got a solid C2 putting right there, 33%. She's well known for running every birdie chance she's got, and I'm excited to see what she's got for us this round.
And to round out our lead card here, Kristi, 904 rated. Coming also from Estonia, we have a very friendly home field here. A lot of Estonian players making the lead card. No surprises there. As we take a look at the top 10 standings, you see Kaidi leading the pack at even. Teele just behind her at 3 over. Anneli and Kristi tied just behind them, 4 over par. Still a tight battle. 36 holes left in the tournament.
Yeah, it's a challenging course out there. Lots of wooded holes, a lot of gaps you gotta hit, a lot of specific shapes and angles. But starting out on hole number 1, we got an 85 meter island hole. It's playing as a hazard surrounding the island, so if you don't stick it, you gotta put it where it lies. And yeah, you got plenty of options here, but you do have guardians on both the left and the right side, so you do have to throw something a bit more straight if you wanna land on the island.
Yeah, I think the straight shot being favored by the majority of players. The only tree which can actually be in your way on the safe island is on the left side, so it does play nicely for the forehand as you may fade away from that, but really friendly hole to get your round started.
Up first the box, we got Kaidi. I've also not seen her game before, so I'm excited to see what kind of game she's got.
Very well rounded. She has a great backhand, forehand, and putt. As we see her fire the first shot here, FPO lead card round 2. She may be just under those branches, but likely a straddle out to safety. Good shot to hit the island.
Yeah, slightly obstructed, but that should just be an easy straddle from there. And here we have Teele Toomsalu. Apologies if we butcher some of these names. We're trying our best here without having heard them properly pronounced before.
No, you're doing a great job, Johan. Don't worry about it. Teele, off the tee. Little hyzer flip, great height and pace, and a soft skip.
Yeah, that's how you draw it up. Nice and low the whole way. Never no chance of doing anything but going right there into the bullseye.
Anneli on the tee now. And just to be clear, I am absolutely no authority on pronunciation of Estonian names. But a lot of these players are familiar to us. We see Anneli here, absolutely no stranger to feature or lead cards. We see the MDG crew in the back there, making sure to enjoy the experience, get some spectating.
This one got a little bit turned over there. And she will have to putt from under that tree over there.
And although it's obvious to see, we didn't mention the elevated basket. If you're that far out, I think likely a layup. Tough to give that a legitimate run.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a pretty unique hole design. I have personally not played an island with hazards surrounding it. Definitely makes it a slightly more interesting.
And a great shot there. She sneaks just up into bullseye. Anneli, yep, avoiding any severe damage. She'll just take a stress-free bogey, and I think not an uncommon score here on hole 1. most players finding a 2 or a 4, I think.
First putt of the day, just a little bit on left side, but she had the right height. That's a good effort.
It was still a little bit cold here today, between about 10 and 15 degrees Celsius. The winds have picked up just a touch compared to round 1, but hopefully the rains will stay away. Some pure Estonian disc golf here. We see Kristi.
Yeah. You can see those flags waving there with quite a bit of force. So these are no gimmies by any means. As we see the turbo putt secure.
And the par for Kaidi. 2 birdies, 1 par, 1 bogey, a mixed bag. 2 players taking a stroke on our leader early. We move on to hole 2. Par 3, 112 meters, a tricky and demanding shaped fairway. As you need to hit through this initial tree line, you want to take as inside of a gap as possible, as your disc needs to then go left while pushing forwards. You crest slightly uphill, avoiding these big branches, and try to crash into this well-guarded green. Very tricky, as you need to push forwards and left the entire way, but not too much of either. Very specific shape, very demanding shape, and I think a pretty good birdie to find if you can. A 3 is an alright score.
So see a little walking to the next hole here, giving us a little extra coverage.
Some flavor for the people at home.
Yeah, like to see it. So we see Teele up to the box first.
I like the height. She's missed the trees, gotten through that first gap, puts it dead center fairway. She's just outside circle 2 most likely, but really good to get a clean look up there.
Yeah, I think that'll be a pitch up from there. Really a hard shape to get the distance as well as the right height. I think you don't want to go too high, but you do have those 3 guardian trees in the center of the fairway. You like to go the right heiser line. Gets just past those trees. I think she'll have a fairly open look from there for up and down.
Kaidi now, expecting her to use a similar height. Giving it that nose up height allows the disc to fade left as long as possible. Just like that, she gets a soft skip just past Teele's lie. Another good look, long look at birdie. I think maybe a jump putt if she chooses to get aggressive.
Yeah. Not too treacherous of a green, so I think she can run it. Here's the Anneli with her DD1. Goes in the inside gap. It was a bit lower, so she got that extra bit more extra push forward. And she's also in a pretty solid spot there for an open approach.
And some of those shots really exemplifying just how tricky this shape is to get all the way to the green. Because they pured that gap with a good height on a nice hyzer angle. You can't really flip it up to flat. The more leftwards you go, the more distance you get towards the basket. We see Kristi there with a nice approach forehand, crashes the tree, sits it down.
Yeah, solid approach there. I believe this is Anneli. Gives a soft little floater towards the basket. No problem.
Teele now.
Looked like a soft bid there. Tough to get the height and distance on. This must be almost 25, 30, would say.
Yeah, I'd agree. Just outside circle 2. 25 would be about right. Anneli a bit low from the hand, but makes sure to put that one in. A bit uncharacteristic from her. She has a very confident putting stroke, and it's rare you see her shorthand the release, but she put it in. No stress.
There we see Kristi putting in her 3. She has a very kind of stabby directly at the basket kind of putt, a bit more higher up on the chest, but seemed very effective there.
Yeah, I like it. Has tons of spin, tons of pace. It's coming out at a nose down angle and very dead center. As you see, our last putt for par here. A par frame here on hole 2.
Yeah, and that's fairly expected here. There's a lot of pars in a day and not a lot of birdies.
Hole 3. Par 3, 146 meters. This is a big bomb off an elevated tee. You do have OB left, OB right, and as you crash into this open field, how much you flip the disc up depends how aggressive you want to get. You do want to push that right side tree line for the right-handed backhanded thrower to get as much distance as possible, but you can then begin to play with fire. I think for a lot of these ladies, they're going to play a placement shot hyzer into the open field, safe approach, and try to avoid any OB, as trying to go for the 2 here can land you in some trouble.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You want to bite off a bit of distance here to make that approach a bit nicer and a bit easier. But reaching the pin here is very tough, as both in the MPO and FPO field, only 11 birdies on a day. And we see just that, slightly flip up to flat there, but she bit off a good chunk of distance, and she'll have a fairly easy approach there.
Yeah, great shot. Kristi with a little bit less flip up to flat. Her hyzer goes wide, swings it back in. I think not as much distance as Teele, but absolutely a fine shot still. Probably about 50 or 60 left to the pin.
Yeah, and out there you can see it's wide open, so you really don't need to go aggressive here, I think. The risk reward is certainly not in your favor.
How do you feel about a par 3, which is very difficult to birdie, but pretty easy to par?
It definitely gives an edge to people who have bigger arms. You could definitely, even for people who might not have 146 distance, they could still put down a roller here. It is downhill. It's wide open, so certainly these ladies have a chance to go for it and maybe get into C2, or maybe if they get that perfect angle downhill, you can get into C1. But then you're putting a lot of risk into the play. You can turn it over too much or go left. So I think it's perfectly fine. Rewards people for having a big distance, and we see Anneli here gives it a bit of a run, but she's parked right next to her basket.
I think a roller here would be pretty crazy. It would have to be maybe forehand roller off that elevated tee. Oh, we see that approach bleed a little bit, I think, just straddling that OB line, still in bounds. Teele now.
She's shown to favor the forehand approach. Didn't quite get any ground play, but that's about 7 or 8 meters out. Certainly a tester this early in the round.
And Kaidi, we saw her get a big flight, longest shot off the tee. Simple little upshot now. That was all of about 110 on a hyzer to hyzer flip shape.
Here, first putt. Sneaks it over rim. Lower left side. But at the right angle to come in and get secured in basket. You can see she's relieved there. And that's something I've talked about before. Sometimes when you're in C1, when you make these putts, it's not really like a huge boost. It's more of a relief feeling than anything else. Maybe it differs from person to person, but that's certainly how I feel.
I think any player coming to the European Pro Tour and trying to compete at this level does have an expectation on themselves to make these shorter putts, of course. So understandable there that you might feel some relief. Some joy coming maybe from those deep C2 putts.
Yeah, no doubt. And so far we've had a good putting performance. Everyone seems quite confident in their putts. Very little wobble out of their hands. Everyone's giving them the height. As you see Anneli here.
Hey, this is lead card now. 4 Estonian players here playing in the Estonian Open. I would expect nothing
serious
less.
Business.
Absolutely.
So you see 4 confident strokes and 4 pars.
Hole 4, the first par 4 on this course. This is a 154-meter winding tunnel shot, let's say. You have a series of gaps and trees that you need to miss. The fairway does a series of curves. As you hit this initial gap, it then begins to bend softly to the left, where you have the second tree line as well as a fairway obstacle to avoid. If you can beat the second one, it bends back to the right and then extends straight past this last tree line, where you finally approach the green, one of the most attackable holes, sitting at only 154 meters par 4. This is one that all of the players will want to get.
Yeah, shooting 3rd easiest on the day, but just following that drone flight does not appear so easy. Definitely a lot of specific shapes you have to make here, and rough woods on both sides, as you see Teele here going deep in the bush there on the left.
Yeah, an early release. I think she's likely playing a hyzer release with some understability, trying to flip it up and over, but just came out early. And in contrast there, Kristi with a slightly late release finds an early tree, likely playing for par from there. Although still possible. And my favorite thing about this hole is that you can throw a whole variety of shapes, as Kaidi just pures this one to that sweet spot. If she can sit it down, that'll be enough for her to have a good look at birdie for sure.
Yeah, I think from there, I think she threw it over 100 easily, so she'll have a 50 or so approach from there, I think. As Anneli tries to follow suit, hyzers it out a little earlier, but I think beyond that tree from our angle, it is a bit more open. So they should be able to have a fairly open approach from there.
Yeah, you could, in theory, dissect this hole into 2 70-meter shots and then make a circle 1 or circle 2 putt. So,
yeah,
really many ways to attack this one.
Yeah, I think most people are trying to get past the first 2 rows of trees to make their approach just that much easier. But certainly you could just throw a mid-range here if you wanted to.
Teele pitched out from the woods, but then again finds trouble. Tricky lie for her. We see Anneli now in a great spot. She has this slight low ceiling, but she plays around it, swinging the hyzer towards the green. Picture perfect.
Yeah, can't do it much better than that. In the bullseye. Let's see if she can replicate here. She goes more of a spiking hyzer and 5 meters away. Great shot for her as well.
She was slightly more obstructed than I had thought from the initial camera angle, but good on her to fight out of there with a big spike hyzer. Teele now. This is her 4th shot, I believe. She finds more trouble. A little bit too high, connecting with the branches. She'll still be outside circle 2.
Just a little bit of wobble on that forehand made it turn up to flat. I think she wanted to keep it on hyzer the whole way. She has this approach here. No problem. She will tap in 4, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that would be right. Only her 3rd shot there. Bit of trouble, and Teele finally up there in the green. She can breathe a sigh of relief. Kaidi with a textbook execution here on hole 4. finds her first birdie here of round 2.
Yeah. Played it almost picture perfect there. And we see Teele up here. Tapping in her bogey.
I think double.
No, just a single.
Single, just a single. There you go. No
Yeah.
damage done. An easy hole, but
Oh, but no, it says a double.
yeah,
so-
she did pitch out. That's why she
Yeah,
had that
yeah.
short shot where she had to pitch out from the bushes, left side rough, early release, just to put herself back in position. But hey, she'll hold her head high, and we move on to hole 5, par 3, 108 meters. An interesting fairway. It slopes slightly uphill at the initial bend and then downhill over this crest. As you break through this tree line and many gaps of trees, you can really pick which one you want to hit. As you attack this hillside, you can try to run this putt, but you need to make sure to catch chains or nothing, as the rollaway is very prevalent and can spell doom, rolling back down to the bottom many times. Hopefully,
Yeah.
not at all.
Hopefully not. I'm interested to see what line they're gonna go for here. I think most are gonna try to elect for the left side backhand turnover. It is quite. How far would you say it is through those first initial trees for the gap?
It's about half the fairway, maybe slightly less. It tends to be pretty easy to get to the green if you break through them because it's downhill afterwards. You get the flight, but still about 50 to 60 meters down
Yeah.
the fairway to hit that gap.
I do think it shapes a bit nicer for forehand, but it's a long way as Anneli go. I believe she didn't hit a single tree there, going through at least 10 trees, but a pretty rough lie on that right side.
Yeah, just a little bit too nose up to get the distance, also causing her to fade out sooner. Kristi playing with some understability, getting a turn through the branches. She has also been now. She's finding herself in that collection point at the bottom of the hill, short.
Now this looks good. Maybe a little too overcooked, and you can see it's a very specific shape there. That one looks really good out of hand. You really have to commit to the highs. There's slow turnover. And we see a forehand approach here. She burns it a bit low, and she will have a outside the circle look up the hill. And as we saw on coverage yesterday, this green can be very treacherous. You definitely want to give it a bid, but don't go low or too high.
Or left or right.
Yeah, I think
just stick it.
I think those steps as well. If you hit it like square on, that would maybe cause you to roll. So,
Absolutely. I think it's a really interesting sort of little experiment here, this green, to test how much players want to get, how close they want to get to the basket. Because you can try to rest up on that hill, but it's very rare that you come to rest close to the basket. And she does it, as I say that, of course, but for many players, it is really not that easy. So pitching up to the bottom of the hill and taking that 7 to 8 meter putt is a common outcome.
Oh, they're seemingly pretty helpful right now. But no one has hit them quite square on yet. As you see Anneli here for her par.
A little bit low as she stays on the hill as well. A fortunate result from hitting cage. That'll be a short tap in bogey for her. You see Teele now.
Solid putt.
Yeah,
Definitely more fortunate putting action here than we saw on yesterday's coverage. This seemed to want to stay today, and you can see the flag is not moving whatsoever, so it's nice and calm out here. Good putting conditions, and sometimes getting that lucky break can really help you around a lot, not to lose your momentum.
I think we can also thank the trees for that. Some beautiful woods here in Pihlapalu, Estonia. Really nice venue for some disc golf.
No doubt.
Here you see the overhead drone shot of hole 6. Par 4, 182 meters. You need an initial tee shot that pushes straight through this gap and then quickly fades left or stalls out. As you bend around this corner, you will see another island of guardian trees that you need to beat on your second shot to get right up there to this tucked away basket behind all of this. Really cool hole, very specific shot off the tee to place yourself, to give yourself a chance to try and swing around the left or right into this green.
Yeah, very interesting course here. Very interesting hole design. I think most are going to elect for the big backhand hyzer here to start out with, and then your options kind of open up from there.
You do need to throw about 100 meters here off the tee. I think a soft flex just like that going to shape really nicely, and that is perfect.
Yeah, ideal landing spot there, and yeah, you're right. You definitely do need some big distance here off the tee. That one's cresting close to tree line.
But it's still flying.
And she's safe. That's not too bad of a landing spot there. It'll open up the angle a bit more for a big hyzer, I believe.
Yeah, there is OB down and to the left if you don't hit this initial gap. Kaidi finding the right side. We'll see if she can kick. Looks like she dropped directly downwards. I believe keeping her safe, but heavily obstructed. She might need to take some shortcut over the OB. Anneli now.
Oh. We didn't quite see where that went in, but sped out nicely into the center fairway. That's a fine result. It will be a tough birdie from there, but she can certainly get up and down.
And make sure to check out the MDG Media Patreon to support European disc golf coverage, exclusive content. Goes a long way to support this coverage. We see Kaidi scrambling. Went for that shortcut, but didn't cross to the safe side. She finds herself OB. Anneli. Big spike hyzer around the corner. Center fairway. She'll have a short upshot around those last trees to still save her par.
Yeah, nice hyzer there. Let's see what kind of angle she's got from here. Also needing to go for that big hyzer. She cuts it a bit more on the inside. But I believe she'll have another hyzer backhand towards the basket from there.
She may even be left enough to have that forehand hyzer option for her approach. But we'll see what her preference is. Teele playing around those trees beautifully. Great off the drive. Great off the upshot. She is bullseye.
Yeah. That's gotta really feel good on this hole. As you see, she does go for a forehand. Juices it a bit long, gives herself another tester, but so far she seemed very comfortable from that range. Anneli here, fairly stock backhand hyzer shot. Cuts a little branches on the way. She'll also have a 7-meter putt. And these are the kind of approaches that you really want to have a stress-free putting. I believe like the amount of energy you put into these kind of stressful 7, 8, 9-meter putts can really drain you throughout the day. So you want to try to make sure you give yourself as few of them as possible. As you see Anneli here, willing in another putt.
Great stuff. Great composure. Finds the par after some tricky lies there. Good on her. Not perfect throwing, but a great putt to keep it in. And beautiful birdie from Kristi there. Another great putt. Stabbing it in.
Yeah, she has very little hesitation. Not a very long routine. She really just goes up there, stares the basket down, and stabs it in. And that's feel good birdie right there. Easy tap in. She executed this hole perfectly.
Like you said, stress-free. This is Kaidi now. As she taps this in, she will be taking a double bogey from an OB stroke. Tricky stuff here. we have made it to hole 7. Par 3, 109 meters, another very unique shaping shot. You have an uphill fairway with a low ceiling about halfway there. As you crest over this hill, the fairway has a steep drop, meaning you will need to control your height very carefully. As you crest over that hill, you want to crash into this basin of a green and settle as softly as possible. At 109 meters, it might bait you into throwing a really fast disc, but all you really need to do is get over that hill, and they all seem to funnel towards that basket.
Yeah, you can see this shot really wants either a flex or a soft turnover. It's all about what kind of angle you get coming down this hill. So you can see that one flexed a little bit early. You really want to go straight for quite a long time and fade in softly towards the end. It also seems to favor kind of low shots, so you don't get too much ground play down there by the green, because it is very soft, or I should say hard forest green here. You get a lot of skip play near these greens.
We saw Teele playing that height, connects with the ground a little bit early. I think a fortunate skip to get her to the backside of that hill should be a very simple upshot. Way trickier if she were still before that downward slope. Just like that, Anneli will have a trickier shot for sure. Kaidi now.
And you can see the tricky angle of this shot. It does go slightly uphill at first, and then it slopes hard downhill afterwards, so it could be hard to get that nose down and get that right angle of your shot. And you can see that the struggle here.
I don't think you can throw nose down, or else you ground it. You need some height, but pushing forwards, maybe using the turn of the disc to control the height, having it turn right and kind of downwards throughout the flight. I believe that must have been Anneli throwing blind over the hill. A fine spot there in circle 1. Teele now from the backside of the hill with an open look.
Slides it up on there nicely.
And something I really appreciate about the Estonian players, specifically in the FPO field, is just how well-rounded their games are. You see they're not afraid to go backhand or forehand, very confident with the putts, straddle and stagger. It's a pleasure to watch a well-rounded game, as they have all the tools needed to attack the course and fight any situation they may find themselves in.
Yeah, they're all seemingly very professional players. So see Anneli here, first time I see her go high like that. Gave her a good effort, but she's up to putt again. Taps in her bogey, a bit unfortunate there. She's usually very strong from that kind of distance, but everyone slips up every now and then.
Teele now for her par save. Going through her routine despite it being a short putt. Don't want to leave any extra strokes.
Yeah, always make sure to take your time. There's no such thing as easy putts unless you have a tap in.
What if I can lean forwards really far and just with my fingertips sort of bounce it off the nubs?
I'd say that's a hard one for you at least.
Hey, come on now. We see Kaidi tapping in her par as well. Only one bogey on this card and the rest pars. The elusive birdie not captured. Hole 8, another par 4 at 156 meters, one of the more demanding par 4s despite the short distance. You have this very small tight initial gap to hit, as the fairway then begins to bend to the left. A good shot will beat this first corner here, allowing you a straight to rightwards shot on your second, or you can try and attack the green. It is slightly sloped and comes in real fast here. You can try to attack it, but you need to make sure to have a good degree of touch. Very technical hole, much like many of the other par 4s here in Kõrvemaa Disc Golf Park.
The scored as the second easiest on the day. Lots of birdies, some A lot of pars as well, but very few bogeys. So this is definitely one you want to pick up. So you want to throw this initial pushing hyzer nice and high. Get it well pushing down the fairway. That's a great shot. A little bit cut off by the tree, but she'll have a straddle at forehand from there. We got Teele here, going for a similar shape.
Using that height to get as much fade as possible. Only finding a tree late in the flight, she actually kicks backwards. Might be a tight gap for her to hit to the green, but not too bad on the distance off the tee.
Definitely not. And it seems like you really want to try to hug kind of the right side of the fairway here in order to get all the way down the fairway.
Anneli has seen some lines now. She goes left gap, up to flat for a second, fades it out. That is exactly what you want, the soft landing and a roll. Perfect tee shot.
Yeah, that's a great shot from there.
And
she'll have about 50-60 in for her birdie.
I was a little bit surprised that you mentioned it's one of the easiest holes, because it is a very technical shot off the tee to position yourself for the second shot. I'd say if you're in that perfect spot, like Anneli will have a great second shot straight look about 50 meters or so to the basket, but really not a super simple tee shot here. Taylor pitching out.
I think if you nail this initial tee shot, then it's a fairly easy up and down for your birdie. There's also not too much that can go wrong here with OBs and Mandos, so not too much danger here, but yeah, I agree. It's definitely not a gimme hole.
By no means. We saw Teele there connect with a guardian tree as she attacked to the green. Got a small kickback. She'll be left with a tester putt to save par. Kristi now. Very solid. She fights through all the gaps. A little bit long of the basket even, but right up there outside. Oh, inside the circle. Probably about 7 meters.
I'd say it was a bit longer than that, but it was a nice anatomizer shape there. As Anneli also gives it a soft flex, and that's, I'd say, 6-7 meters there.
A little bit longer, probably. No, I'm just messing with you. Kaidi with an Anheuser shape here. Looking to flatten it out at the end. She does, and gets the slide as a result. Great placement for her as well. Teele from outside the circle to save par.
And look at that.
The full commitment. Incredible stuff.
Beautiful stroke there. You can really see her technique there. She breaks it nice and low. Yeah, let's see this pretty good replay here. From C2, out of the hand on Annie. Center stripe. Run in and get your par. Thanks to basket on the way out. Pretty good.
Kristi now. Just a little bit low out of the hand. Oftentimes the momentum of a big putt on your card can give you the energy, but for some you might also be thinking about the possibility of a big putt. I don't think that was in Kristi's head, as that was an honest bid, just a few centimeters too low.
Yeah, perhaps the slight downhill was in her head a little bit. We won't know for sure, but we do know for sure that that's in.
Kaidi finds her par, no worries. And Anneli here for her birdie. Really nice off the tee and the approach. We'll see her try to stick this one now.
Confident stroke. She's +1 on the round now, picking up her second birdie. And she's right in the mix for the top scorecard.
No doubt. We are here on hole 9, another par 4 at 150 meters. Another very tricky and demanding tee shot that requires a great touch and distance control. You want to throw roughly 80 meters to get to the edge of this tunnel, where the fairway then bends left almost 90 degrees, slopes downhill, has a series of guardian trees you need to beat, where you find the basket well protected at the back. I think The best way to play this hole is not to push too much on either the first or second shot and just try to dissect it. 75 off each. Try to have a short putt. Someone's lost disc there on the top. Hope they got that back.
Nice of someone to leave the disc there. This hole scored right in the middle in terms of difficulty. Not too... There's quite a few bogeys on the day, so it is a tricky hole. As I see, Anneli here smoked this down the fairway.
Oh, that is so good. She ignored everything I said about going 75. She went distance driver, full hyzer, and just bended around the corner like it was nothing. That's an incredible drive.
I think that's her trusty DD1 that she's been using a lot here on tour. And it can be nice to have that one disc that you're very comfortable using in the woods. And for her, it definitely seems like that DD1.
I think also when it comes down to the preference of hitting gaps, some players do like to throw a sort of lower speed disc in a smooth shot. That's a totally fine result there for Teele. Doesn't get the fade around the corner, but well positioned for another straight shot. Some players do like to throw a smooth shot with a putter or mid-range, and I know for a fact that some players prefer to hit the gap with a distance driver at full power. I'm personally not one of them, but if that's what you're comfortable with, just like Kaidi did there, then a fortunate tree kick, but really pushing that aggression and going driver.
Yeah, I think it was you that told me if you throw a driver in a hole like this, you pass by all the trees quicker, so you have less time to hit him. So
I did say that. That's true. You get past the trees faster the sharper disc you throw.
I'm not sure how sound the logic is there, but
that's some wisdom for sure.
Yeah, I won't say it's not true or true. I'm still thinking about the validity of that statement.
Oh, Kristi with a little bit too much Anheuser from the hand. She'll be left with a long look. Teele now to make the correction. She's just before this trench, about 80 meters left. As she shapes this beautifully. Did she just hit the basket? I think she did with that smile. That came to a dead stop, center green. Beautiful shot.
And she's been really dialed in with that forehand. Definitely favoring it on the approaches. She's very, you can see how she throws it. She's very committed to it. Has a lot of confidence in it. That's another solid approach there, but just on the circle's edge. Let's see Anneli here.
That is an incredible drive. And she's so far up the fairway, she throws a soft hyzer chip that goes long. Still a great shot, well within the circle, but really goes to show just how far up she was. Kristi, nice scramble shot.
Yeah, nice little Anheuser angle there. Definitely something you want in your wheelhouse in the woods. And look at that, wow. So center.
Kaidi cashing the birdie here, making sure not to give any breathing room to those chasing her. She wants to maintain her lead. So we take another look at that. Putting downhill, close stance as she gives it the pop, drops it in. That's all you need.
I definitely see why she's in the lead. Her game is very strong from what I've seen, very confident. She gets a little love from her card mates there.
Anneli for birdie as well now.
It's a tough one to miss after such a good drive, but that was more on the approach than the putt.
Yeah, agreed. I think a little hesitation on that tap-in just because of order of play. She was just a tiny bit closer than Kristi, but a tap-in's a tap-in. I think the majority of players don't mind someone getting out of the way and moving to the next hole.
Yeah, I actually prefer it in those kind of situations.
As Kristi takes her bogey, we see Teele here tapping in the stress-free birdie. Great showing there. That's it for the front nine. Just like that, flew right by. We will take a look at the standings here. As we are halfway through this tournament, we see our leader, Kaidi Allsalu, still holding that position at 1 over par. Teele there at 2 over. Marie Kilas, a new name, has fought up the leaderboards here, going 2 under through the front 9, fought her way to 3rd place. Kristi sitting in 4th. Still a tight battle. And that's halfway.
Yeah, nice scoreboard there with plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Easy to keep the score of who's in the lead there.
Well, hey, thank you for joining us. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the back 9.
See you there, everyone.